here we are, got a country scene here, and I have transposed the drawing upon the canvas to save time, and I've got a little pencil sketch. That's what I'm going by more than going by some of the color and so on for the original photo, but you can see that a number of things were changed. Moved the swing over to this tree. I kept a lot, generally, it together. I cropped it substantially. So, all right, so we're going to just do some of the background and fill in some of this just to get the ground going. And so this is cerulean white, of course. And I'm stopping it right here because there's a lot of twigs and so on going on there. I'm just going to, this was a painted a red ground on here, and so I'm going to keep a little bit of that. I mean, we're going to use that to our benefit right now just to see how things are pulled together. A lot of foliage in this one, and so we'll go around some of it, but you're going to obliterate some of your drawing, and that's to be expected. You know how it's supposed to be, so you can bring it back again with more easily, because you remember what you've done. So it's a good idea to draw your stuff out beforehand. I might even leave some of this ground showing. I'm not sure yet. I changed some things from the original little sketch, not much, but I did. You see substantially different things going on than the original photo. You do your original photo and you paint that exactly the way it is, then what are you really accomplishing? You're reproducing a photograph. So I really don't like to do that. I'm going to add some different color to this roof here. I mean this, roof. So we're just coloring this in. And this gray, dark gray, made from Ultramarine Blue, some orange, I sort of like that, and I haven't put that in. I sort of like that one branch there, so we might have to I want this to look painterly. I don't want it to be too I don't want it to be polished. Sometimes it can really hurt a painting. I really don't like it that way. I'm using a dark low intensity orange, which is really made from blue, red, burnt umber, and cadmium orange. It's and I'm going to like just kind of put it on here, allowing some of the background to come through, and I don't want to obliterate my my drawing completely, but I will put it on pretty thickly. I'm adding a little bit of blue to this mixture and drawing something in the background. I think there's some trees back there, and I'm going to be allowing some of that to show through. I see there's a tree back there. I'm going to allow that to come through. And this bush going to obliterate a lot of things, which is good in some ways. I'm using a combination of this color and a lighter gray blue to put a couple of these branches in. And I'm going to use that same color to put some of this in. That tree. And I've got a kind of a red mixture, just Alizarin Crimson and the same color, this gray color mixed together. So I'm going to include some of that, and I'm going to paint this in. Okay, then what's going to make this stand out a little bit is that I'm going to be including some background color in there, but let's just whip this guy together a little bit. This is Ultramarine Blue, burnt umber. Sort of a black, but it's certainly better than black, because black is a dead color. It'll zap your, kill your it would kill your the liveliness, the naturalness from your painting by having black just out of the tube. All right. So I'll paint the swing end just with a one stroke there. Okay, now we've got the blue. It's low intensity blue. I'm making that from a little bit of this brown mixture that I made here, mixed with Alizarin Crimson and titanium white. And I'm going to put that in. Looking at the mixture of noticing that, I'm trying to keep the values correct throughout. And so I'm just putting this porch on here just with a couple strokes. I'm going to put this one in too. And then we've got this porch. I'm going to put in some white. When I put in that white of the, you do not put in white. White, that's the wrong thing to do. You mix it with something. Mix it with anything. There's the sky color is yellow, so why not add yellow to it? It can be, you know, pretty white, but should have that other color in it. Should have. It's you got to know that the sun is hitting it, and it'll look correct. Now that's not how the photo is, and it's not saying I'm going to keep it this way, but I'm going to just put it in there right now. I reserve the right to change my mind anytime I want. Okay, I went over that, the string of the swing, that's okay. And of course this has, I want to keep that light. I want to keep this light. It shows that a lot of it is in, a lot of this porch is in shadow, but I want to at least keep what's in light against the black of the tire swing. That's what I would like to do. And I'm just going to hit up a couple things here. We're going to put that in shadow. Put that in shadow here. I'm going to use the gray, the color I used for this. And I'm going to put it in there. Notice that this has a shadow color, right? So I'm going to hit that again. We'll hit some greens now. I'm going to use cadmium yellow, a little bit of sap green, throw a little bit of Cad Red in it. And I'm going to throw a little bit of blue in there again. Alizarin, excuse me, it's my warm blue, which is cerulean, in that. And I'm just going to sketch this in just really briefly. Throw a little bit of yellow in there as well. It appears like there's some a lot of leaves or something. Little specks of leaves here and there, and we'll just kind of suggest those. What I want to do is a bunch of little paintings. These are small, so you can see a lot of information and get a lot of information out of something that's done more quickly, so that it's not so boring to look at. So I'm adding right here, I added some blue and a little bit of white to a little bit of this yellow in it. And the reason for that is because it's further away. So things tend to be that way. They're further away. They have more blues in them and so on. So, okay, now I'm going not by the photo, but by the illustration, and it does have all this crap going on here. So, too many brush. I'm chopping up the edge of the, and I'm going to come back a little bit on that. Chopping up a little bit of this edge here. We want to put the dark, going a little bit darker on these windows. Okay, that's a better window than what I had there. So I'm coming back and touching that up a little bit. Okay. So I see that there's some brush up here. Gonna use Ultramarine Blue and Sap Green here, and put in a little bit of this. Tree that's coming up in this area. It appears also sort of like that one branch, so I'm going to put him in. from the photo. I think it looks better. We just put in this. We'll throw that chimney in real quickly. And I'm going to scumble a little bit of Ultramarine Blue here. Okay, I see a bunch of these some quite interesting oranges right in here, and I'm going to put some of those in. Have to go a little bit more put those in impressionistically right in there. So I'm going to add see, there's some here too. There's another tree and such over here. I'm going to kind of gray that area though, because it's actually part of this tree. You see it now, but I didn't see it before. So it's in the distance, so I'm going to cool it off quite a bit here. Show a couple shadows here. I like that. Do some of that. Pull some of that in. There's a branch that's coming out here. And then it's wrapped around in here. The other parts of the tree out the back there. I always invariably almost like the little dinky sketch, because the bigger you go, of course, the more detail you have to put in. So you kind of have to know more information. You don't need to know as much here. So I'm going to add some red. There's a mix it with a bunch of this blue-gray because it's back there and it's quite red. It's part of the building back there. You see a little bit of it on this side. So I'm going to put this green, but or green bush right in here. Kind of allow it to spill over here. I'm going to get some sort of a blue blue-green shadow in there, and I see some here too, so we're just putting in a little bit of that. The most important thing is the lightness and darkness of something. You get that right, you can paint anything. So I'm going to pull some yellow in here and some white. Add a little bit of red to it, and I'm coming back into here. It's interesting. Sometimes you have to truly be there or have good reference and so on to understand sometimes where those because on land that's hilly and rocky and so on, like this is evidently, you have you know, the shadows will follow the land, and they also define the land or the shape of the land. So you should stay and stay true to that. Well, you don't have to stay true to it. What I meant to say is you have to be cognizant of that, and sometimes you can use it to your benefit. You can turn the land, make a hill there easily with just a change of shadow. That happens quite often. So I'm going to put this shadow underneath here again. Sometimes you have to redefine it 2-3 times in order for it to stick, because you are because you are mixing with the underlayer underneath there. So sometimes you have to remember that. I'm obliterating that string where that is. I'm going to come back and do this is actually sort of a hard edge, so. So I want to make sure that some of this orange under layer is covered. This allows me to take some of those branches and mold them a little bit, make them thinner and so on, by chiseling them out of the wood I already put down. And I can make them smaller. Tree tapers. Taper smaller, everything tapers smaller, the branches, everything. Nothing is not tapering. And so it helps to ensure that they're tapering all the time. I'm just darkening up a few places here. Beautiful red back there is really helpful. I like it. So I'm imagining, because I can't see it, that since it's in a background, it's got a higher, it will be located in a higher position, the red building. So I got to put it back there. And also then I'm going to try some purples, I think, in the background. Could be some trees. I'll allow them to appear in the background. Appear like trees. Using that same purple, I'm going to put up here. And then show some of the background coming through. So you can see that, but I also want this to be in the front and forward of all that. So I'm going to take these yellows and I'm going to put them on here with a little bit more texture. Rolled my brush that time. Do it again. So it's coming along. I think I'm going to make those trees in the background a little bit darker so I can see them. That white trim there, I'll put in a little bit. get it up again. Let's see now. I think that what I'll do is add just a little bit of terps. See, a lot of times you want these darks to ring true as well, because they bring things forward and so on. They really help. We've got this tree. Oh my goodness, the tree goes in this manner, cuts across here, and goes over here. So we'll just put that in that manner. And I think I'm going to throw a little bit of this behind it and underneath it so that it reads just a little bit more, especially underneath it. There. Bring it out a little bit. This is a supposedly cast shadow, and so gotta make sure that this doesn't cast beyond the tree. And add a little bit more. Some more calligraphy, actually. And so that tree stands out. Tree is not standing out worth a darn right now. I'm gonna have to include some darker blues back here. So it will, so that it will. And I can see that evidently we do have the cast shadow of the house that's going to be cast in the same direction. So I can use that. And I think we can use that significantly back there. But I think I have to have this one stripe of yellow, because I don't want that thing to hit. I don't want the bottom of the red barn in the background to conflict with anything. So I see that there is a darker image here. This is way darker. Show that that porch on that house, and evidently there is we see that there's a number of cast shadows all over this yard here, and that some of them, here's a, excuse me, let's put in this bush here, and that's in the background, and it's kind of obliterated and it's darker, so let's put it in that manner. Gotta watch it here so it doesn't conflict at that. And maybe there's a flower or something there. So I removed a lot of the cast shadows right there because it will screw up my design otherwise. So you move it. It's the best thing you can do. So you gotta have some lost and found edges to that string there coming, that rope and the swing, but a little bit heavy duty right now, but I can improve upon that later. I want to get some of these branches down. Here's a branch that comes up here, moves around down here this way. We just put that in. There's a couple big ones up here. Remember, they don't want to overdo them, but it's okay to have some of that in. Sometimes they, because they're so many little vines and so on, that there's like a value could represent just a darker value, and so you can do that at times too. Some kind of scumbling in well, not, I wouldn't say scumbling, just putting in some of this a little bit darker value to represent all that is possible. Small, infinitesimally small pieces of the limb that essentially has diminished in size until they're very little twigs. And so then you can represent them by just a difference in by doing, you know, something similar to this. Now I've got to go back to my, I realize that I'm really being hurt in here because I'm not as dark as I should be here. So I'm going to pull that in here. You can see that I've lost a lot in here. This bush has got to be reinstated. This bush is kind of pretty important because it obliterates the crap in the background. And it centers it more on this area, which is my focal point. So it's like a warm green because it's close, but it's a warmer, darker green. So let's see if I can come up with something that's closer to that. So yeah, it's darker and that kind of stuff, especially, and I wanted to really read darker right here and so on. And of course it does have some lighter foliage on it up along here because the sun is hitting it. So we want to also get a dark enough green in there. We're adding some limbs here and so on. There is a darkening in the behind on the edge so that I can take this dark here and follow it along here to define the tree a little bit more. Okay, this bush needs more definition. I notice I'm going to have to go by my little sketch instead of what I've got in front of me, because I want that dark to read, and it's not really reading like it should. So I'm going to use more I'm going to have to make a warmer but darker green here. So it's darker. Might have to go a little bit darker in these. You know, where the sun cannot get to it, it's a little bit darker still. Adding a little bit of purple in this mix. And I suppose I should, you know, get some of the yellows on this side. Reduce how large that is, and pull that pull a cooler shadow, the cast shadow of the house, against it as well, and then redefine that porch area again. And I'm almost putting on straight, practically straight cerulean in there. Put a little bit of ultramarine to define that top roof there, a little bit of it. Now I've got the light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. This should be a little bit darker. Now, that's not how it always goes, but I try to use that whenever I can. And don't want to go too yellow or green on this bush, but it is kind of close here, so this is in front of it, so gotta keep it in front. Looks like I'm overdoing it. I'm gonna get rid of this one. kill that area a little bit. I'm going to throw a little bit of blue back there as well. Keep it in shadow. It's a little bit too intense, so you got to watch out for that. Of course, you could be declared a colorist then, I suppose. You know, these sticks coming through and allowing there to be a a value difference there. So therefore, I can come back and pull some white in and some of that yellow that I pulled in a little bit before because the sun's hitting it so much. And I can do some sky holes into that area. But it is pretty important along there, so I do want to have that as one of my brightest whites right here across. And I'm going to make that rope a little bit thinner. Notice I left a little bit of yellow here to appear like there's some shade cascading. I mean, some trees casting shadows upon it, I should say. And also so I'm trying to pull in some texture, pull in some extra vibrancy and lightness into this area. I got to straighten out now that roof again. So that's what you do. You go back and forth and you make sure that you can the oil is so forgiving, is so wonderful of a medium. It's great. Just love it. I think that this is a little harsh up here. So, and it might be a little harsh up here. I'm going to lighten it at its edges a little bit. Makes it more realistic. So we're cutting across a couple limbs across here. You have to watch out you don't become too Sometimes it's very difficult to get the value. You can maybe get the value, but the color is very nondescript. It's like, well, what color is this? I can't tell if it's a blue. I can't tell if it's a red. I can't tell if it's a yellow. That means it's some of all those. It's a gray mixture of all those. So the best thing to do is start mixing a bunch of grays and seeing if anything approximates that. So this tends to be, I feel, a little bit red. So I'm reinstating a little bit of red in there. So yeah, okay, so it's coming along. What's undone here? I think we want to kind of polish it up a little bit now. So I'm taking a little bit I'm going to put these cross members into these. You don't want to overdo this kind of detail, because you know what it looks like and they know what it should look like, and so a lot of times you don't have to say it with too much. Sometimes the less spoken is the best. So I'm going to take a little bit of this color here. Include it in here. Just a little, pull some of these reds into this area too. So I'm kind of a colorist, so I like to do that. Otherwise they look kind of dead, some of these. If you don't watch it, they'll look a little bit dead. I think this a little bit. A little bit of stem over there. I think that's good. See a little bit of that in there. Sometimes those little bit accents, a little bit extra. This is, I'm using dioxazine purple straight from the tube on this right here. It doesn't mean that that's always the right one to use. So I'm going to put some of these in now. Now these things go every which way, so remember to include that kind of detail. And they always taper which way? All the way out. And sometimes you can get carried away with this stuff. I think I'm just doing that right now. Alright, now we're going to, we're doing the accents and final lay-in here. I just want to get a little bit come up with a good strong I guess I'm going a little bit darker on this darker green here. I like to pull, sometimes I like to pull one across to kind of state, you know, to give some depth to the picture and so on. So that's what I do sometimes. typically, you know, you're gonna see some grass here. If you break up that I think that's a little bit too much over here, so pulling that out again. All right, that looks pretty good. Got to take this off a little bit. It's a little bit too heavy. So I think it's pretty much done. I don't think we should do too much more. I think it would be a bad thing to do too much more. I guess I do like some of these some of these that pass over. Some of these limbs that pass over and down. I think we'll just leave a lot of this alone. Maybe I'll include a little bit of sky color again in here. watch out for these edges. A little bit more orange of this red. And cool it off a little bit over here. I think it's done. I'm gonna add a couple here, a couple. Sometimes it's nice to get some reds or something down here too. Just so you get some variety. You should have some variety on your greens. You can use the same value, but get the variety in there. Value being the lightness and darkness of something. Intensity being the intensity of the color itself. So use more yellow here, as it is low intensity. And then I should use maybe a little bit lighter up there. So. Maybe we'll do that. And I should continue a little bit of this on this side too. I should make sure that this corner comes a point down there. I'm going to put a little bit of shrubbery right there. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm going to sign it after it gets, because it's so hard to come to a point and put something in there, so I want to be more discreet on these little ones. So I'm going to probably do my signature a little bit smaller and a little bit nicer. So think I'm going to add some marks like this to delineate the fact that this is a bush here. Starting to look pretty good. And should have a little bit. Probably some warmer greens in here. Okay, that'll be a wrap then. Come back again. We're going to be doing another small one like this, and it should be a good thing. So thanks. Come again. Tell me that you like it. Subscribe. Ring the bell. Bye now.